Hello world, I am Curtis Simpson and this is Jective's Typography News. I was listening to myself to see if the audio sounded okay, and as you can see, this is the first time doing this live. I have never done a live stream on YouTube. I used to stream on Twitch a little bit when I was working on another project, but I have been gone for a couple of months. You may have noticed, you may not have, you probably haven't. But this is going to be the way that I try to do typography news now. I'm going to try and hit this live Tuesday through Friday because not a lot of news comes out usually on Mondays, but we'll see. Maybe it'll change. But my plan right now is to do this live for an hour in the evenings, Tuesday through Friday. And I know that this one's going to be a complete dumpster fire, but hopefully the other ones get better. And I think with reps, I will get more comfortable doing this and the quality will improve. And, you know, we'll figure this out together. I have a bunch of new typefaces that have come out, you know, in the last days, weeks. Since I haven't been here for a little bit, kind of everything's new, but I do have these being pretty recent within the last week or so. But first, let me switch. Okay. Let me switch to my main monitor so I can show you this event that's going on right now. You can see my Notion over here. I don't have my third monitor hooked up right now, so we're just going to have to kind of, you know, you can get a little preview of what we're going to talk about. But you can see here, this is in New York City right now, summer 2025, Typographics. It is a design festival. It says right here, a design festival for people who use type. And the very first video, there was a live stream of this yesterday. It was Jupiter to Japan with David Heasty. And he was from Triborough. Oops, it's playing. This was a really interesting talk. I'm not going to go over it too much, but the reason I found it interesting, let's see if I can get my face cam on here. Oh, there I am. Look at that. So resize this. I apologize. Okay. So, oh my goodness. I'll get better at this, I promise. The thing I found interesting about his speech yesterday, he's not a type designer like in the way we normally think. His studio, though, him and his partner, his wife, his partner, both in work and life, they do create custom typefaces and sometimes commission them for projects. And if you watch the video, you'll see that. But he doesn't actually create typefaces that he sells to the public or that they sell to the public. But it was really interesting because he went through, let me just go ahead and do the face cam. I don't know why we're staring at this and that. He went through his design process, their design process for a number of different projects over a number of different years. And I think that if you're a designer, you will very much relate to the way that that some of his processes went. Lots of times when studios publish their case studies and when they finish a project, they just kind of show the end result and kind of work backwards as to how they got there. They don't show all the mistakes. They don't show all of like the wrong directions that they went in. And I found it very refreshing and very interesting that he did talk about all of those things. And if you watch it, you'll see he has clients that he's working with, and he puts together this thing that they think is really cool. And then the client's like, okay, but this is a campaign. We're hiring you to make branding. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We're hiring you. I'm here to make branding. And I don't know. It's really cool. Check it out, called Jupiter to Japan. It's on the Cooper Union. Let me see if I can switch this back. It's on the Cooper Union YouTube channel. There's that. They have a bunch of interesting videos on there, but they do a lot of live events. And this is part of Typographics 2025. And that was the one that started yesterday. So you can see the entire conference goes from June 23rd to July 3rd. And I believe the main conference is this. Yeah, so the main conference is like this coming weekend. But there's a ton of stuff going on for basically like the next 10, 14 days. And there's a bunch of free stuff. So you can check this out, typographics.com. Here's the full schedule. And if you go to the full schedule, you can see these little free icons. Let me zoom in as much as we can here without breaking the website. So if you zoom in, you can see these little free icons. And those are basically the things that I'm going to be going to because I'm not in New York right now. And but you can see all the different speakers and all the different stuff that's going on here. Maybe some of this will end up being online at some point. I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon because these are mostly paid events, aside from the ones that say they're free. But the Type Lab one is, I think, the ones that most people will be interested in because they're going to be going all day long. I don't know what to expect from those, but I do expect that it will be kind of cool, hopefully. I'm interested in those. I'm going to be checking those out this week, the next 10 days or whatever. And I'll report back. We'll be here tomorrow and we'll talk about it then. So I'm mostly going to talk about new fonts today, new typefaces, but I do have two branding projects that I want to look at. The first is by Unfound. It's for 81 Colmore Row. And I wrote like a little note. You might be able to see it in my Notion here, and it says the typography and branding here is S tier. I think that's the only note that I have on there. Those might be embarrassing if there's more. But you can look at this, and it just feels, it's just super classy. And I have no idea what this is. It's a building that they're turning into workplaces. But you can see kind of who they're targeting with this pretty easily. It's not going to be cheap. You can see right here, a premium workplace in Birmingham's business district for future thinking enterprises. A lot of marketees in that sentence, but that's to be expected. What I'm mostly interested in is this typography and how they've used it, because it just looks super classy. And I think that this is a great case study to look at if you want to see something that's premium, but also like a little bit playful, not like super playful, like, I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head what's been really silly lately, but the little coin icon that's on here is a little bit playful. This right here, switch your business on at 81. Take a look. See, that's like a little playful, but the typography, the 81 Colmore Row, is super classy. The way that they've done all the imagery, all these icons, the way they're kind of like overlaying it on top of each other. I just think it looks super clean. And I can just imagine the people that are going to be going and working in this building. It says coming June 2025. So I guess this is just now opening. I just imagine going to work here every day. Like, it would feel like you were going somewhere. I don't know. You would look forward to going there on Monday morning, I would assume, unless your boss is horrible. But the setting that you're in, this goes for indoors or outdoors, but like if you go out on your street and your street's dangerous and it's depressing, you're kind of in a bad mood all the time. If you go outside and it's beautiful, you're happy. And I think that this branding, along with all the architecture, all the interior design, but this branding makes me feel like if I was going to this place, I would be in a good mood during the day. And I think the Unfound Studio, they nailed this and hopefully can attract people if it deserves to be attracted to. I don't know much about the project. This Nike, who did this? Kurppa, I'm sure I'm gonna butcher this name. Kurppa Hosk. I saw that they put together this new system for Nike. They're calling it a system of systems. And it's really cool, the color, the icons, these different things. But what I mostly wanted to go look at was the typography. So let's just scroll all the way down here. And you can see, we'll let it do its little thing. But they've got 3 different typefaces. I think everybody is familiar with Futura, but there it is, the Nike DNA. You can see it's Palatino, it's Futura, and it's Helvetica. And I was a little surprised to see Helvetica and Futura together, but I think that this, these 3, they work really well together. I'd say like for the most part, I do want to point out one thing that I don't necessarily love, but you can see they've got some different sizing and stuff here. They're kind of showing how they use it. What I found most interesting, oh, Asia. We can't zoom in on it too much. Let's see if we can open this in another tab. Oh, they're trying to open it there. Shoot. Okay, what I found most interesting here is this section over here on the right where it says dreams don't happen overnight. They're noting that this is Palatino, Linotype Pro, Light, blah, blah, blah. On the bottom of that, it's got 5% Palatino, 15% Futura, and then 80% Helvetica. And I hate like videos that just keep playing, so we're going to scroll back up. And they're inescapable here. Okay, but what I found interesting about this is that when you think about the branding, you would think like, I don't know, just my gut instinct was like, oh no, it would be like 80% Futura, right? Because Nike is in Futura. You go up to this and you just think, you know, you see these and you see it saying like Nike, just do it, you know, whatever it's going to say. But they're really using Futura, as you see here, as the statement. So it's like the big, bold thing. And maybe that's why in my brain, I just think Nike Futura. But really, according to this system, they're using Palatino 5% of the time. And you can see how they're saying here, they're going to say that it's the conversation. Let's wait for it. Make a statement. Okay, conversation right there. So like when they're kind of writing something that's like not quite as bold of a statement, I think that's when they're using Palatino. And then Helvetica is just like everything. You know, Helvetica is going to be all this stuff on the left here. Probably even if we do what font is, this will be, oh no, that's something else. But I think most of the time you're going to see Helvetica for all the UI and things like that, Futura for like the big statements, and then Palatino for the smaller things. Anyway, I don't want to stick on this for too long, but there was, you can see a lot of it in action here, but there was one thing that I really didn't like. It's this right here, Motion, Their Journey. And I actually have an interview that's very relevant to this coming up. It's from a website called Excitable. Let me just show you a preview of it real quick. It's this website right here. I did an interview with the creator. His name's Andy. And this will be as much of a preview as I go into right now. But it's a website all about X-Heights. And I think that it really would have come in handy right here, because if you look at There and Journey, I don't know how often they're going to be sticking Palatino right next to Helvetica like this, but I don't think that it works because of the X height. You can see there the X height of Journey of Palatino is much lower. You know, not like incredibly lower, but I bet that's only like 80% of Helvetica. Helvetica's got a pretty tall X height, depending on which one you're looking at. But I mean, it's got a pretty tall X height. And I just don't think that that flows. I think that these three typefaces obviously work great in a system. And, you know, you can see that up here in some of this, where they've got Futura, and then you've got Helvetica kind of supporting that. They don't have any Palatino on this slide right here. But when you stick them right next to each other, X height to X height, I think you really see that contrast, and it just kind of creates this jagged stair step that doesn't quite work. Let's move on, because I have a ton of fonts to look at, and the first is going to be from SimpleBits. Let me close out of all these. Scorecard. He has been previewing this for a very long time he does this weekly newsletter. Gosh, I wish I could remember what it's called now. SimpleBits. He has this weekly newsletter, and it's great. He doesn't just talk about his own stuff. But at the bottom of it, he gives a preview of what font he's working on, what he's excited about. And this has been one that's been teased for a very long time. I'll go ahead and read some of the description here, because I don't want to, I want to report the news and not necessarily be super subjective about it. I do think that this up here is cool, though. The first time I saw this, I didn't realize that this was the type tester. And then you can change it to dark or light here. Go semi bold, bold. And then there's two different A's. Oh wait, no, there's not. There's a button to change the two different A's, but there's not. Bad UI right there. Okay. Let's see. Subscribe to objectives. Yeah, I think that this looks great. It's super fun. You know, it's obviously a display typeface. Let's read the description. Scorecard is an imperfect sans serif inspired by the lettering on a vintage baseball scoring card made by the Dennison Manufacturing Company in Massachusetts. And let's see if we can look at it. Oh, this is his Instagram. Yeah, so look at this. That's super cool. Like, no wonder he found inspiration in this. Oh, of course. No wonder he found inspiration in this. That looks super cool. But yeah, type designers, of which I'm not. I'm an enthusiast. One day I hope to design a typeface. But just like any designer, you can pick one little thing and then just like run with it and create an entire typeface out of it. And I find it super encouraging, inspirational. And it was really cool to see this tease for a long time and then now to see it fully out. And it's just 24 bucks. That gives it to you for desktop and web. If you only want one, it looks like they're running 16 each, but for $24, snag both. And I do love, he's got this super simple license, which makes sense. SimpleBits. You can see it right there. I'm a big fan of SimpleBits. I'm a big fan of what he's doing, what he's done in the past. I have one of his books right here we're going to do a review of. I have actually all three of them, but two of them are ebooks, so we're going to do all three of those. I haven't opened it yet because I want to do a little bit of an unboxing for some future members content. But yeah, Scorecard, check it out, simplebits.shop. Let's move on. This one I am in love with. This is Pranzo or Pranzo. I'm not sure which way you say it, but it's a comic book font. Let's go ahead and read it again. Pranzo is the ultimate comic book typeface with 3 huge variable font axes that cover every mood and moment. Okay, we're getting in a little bit of marketese there, but plus it's packed with comic book essentials, symbols, frames, speech balloons, and thought bubbles available across every weight and style. And I actually do have this one. Let's go ahead and make a new. So if you look, let's go ahead and go back. Try not to like do this thing so you don't have to look at everything I have open, but if you go right here, get free trials, you do have to make an account, but you know, you don't have to upload a credit card or anything like that. You can get an account, you can download a free trial and test it out. Obviously, don't use this for personal or commercial or anything. Just use it to test out, and that's what we're going to do right now. But there's this really cool feature. Let's go ahead and do it like this. There's this really cool feature. There's several really cool open type features. Pranzo. So this is a variable typeface too. You can see it's just got one axis on affinity. Maybe Adobe has more. There's not a lot of variable fonts go. You know, they have multiple axes. You can open up some of the Google fonts, and they might have 18 different axes. Axes? I want to say axes. I know it's axes. They have like 18 different axes. But you can't use any of them. I don't know, you know, I don't know why variable fonts are so great and so terrible to implement at the same time. I know that it's not just an affinity thing. I know that it's like an across the board thing. But it does seem like affinity is a little bit more behind. But I haven't had any problems with it. But you can see right here, they're going condensed, bold, and italic with it. But when I open it up here, this could also be because this is a trial font. I didn't think of that. This could be because it's a trial font. They only have one weight on here. So let's go ahead and say, make it green, of course. So what I found really cool is if you look at the open type features on here, you might not be able to see them super great, but there's a bunch of stylistic stuff over here on the right side. It can automatically do, it can automatically do stuff like this and this. Oh, Oh, here's the alternates. Okay, clearly I didn't practice with this enough, but let me go ahead and show you again. I'm doing 2 brackets. I'm sure there are other ones that you can do as well. I'm doing 2 brackets, and it turns it into that. And then 2 brackets to close it. Oops, 2 brackets to close it. My keyboard has the shift buttons wrong. Blame Corsair. But yeah, let's go back to their examples because it's going to look much better than mine. But I do think that it's cool that they have these open type features. And once you know how to use them, it's basically magic, because just being able to have like branded arrows or speech bubbles. I'll go ahead and go down. You can see like some of the speech bubbles. Here's some speech bubbles right here. They've got chow and hey. Those are built into the font. And I know that anybody can just make a speech bubble, you can draw it, but having it built into the font and being the right weights and being the same, like super similar aesthetic, is very, very convenient and very cost effective. It saves time, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, these are not cheap fonts. This is also in HAIS. This is not in dollars. For dollars to HAIS, it's like a 5 point something, 5.6 maybe. Oh, we can change the currency. Let's see, USD. So like 125, 250. Okay, yeah, so this is what it is. There's 1 axis, 2 axis, 3 axis. Don't love that. Yeah, I don't love that. I wish that if you're gonna sell a font, just sell the font. Maybe some people, it would be similar to like buying the condensed version, buying the italic version, stuff like that. I get it. I understand what's going on. I understand that they're charging $500 for the full typeface family, and then they're charging $125 for the single, just like the normal that would go, from hairline to black. I get it. I still don't love it. It's like when you buy a video game or something and they only give you like part of the game and you have to buy the rest of it. I don't know. I'm torn because there are typefaces that I don't buy the whole typeface because I don't need it. So yeah, they're the pros. They're probably doing it right. I just wish that when I pay for something, I get everything. I don't like having to make the choice. But this is a great typeface. It seems super fun. There are alternates in there too. Let's see if we can see any of these textual alternates. Okay, so there's only alternates for certain letters, but you can see them here. It's for A, E, F, O, and then lowercase a, E, F, N, O. And you can see like there's slight differences for alternates, but that's great because when you have a handwriting font, you really want to be able to, you really want to be able to have like some alternates because someone like me is going to see that it's like humans are very good at recognizing patterns. And when you recognize the pattern, it just doesn't have the same effect. I know that for comic book fonts, they're never going to be like a handwritten, there's going to be some repeats, but I think when you have a very distinct display font, you always want to have some alternates just to make things look a little more natural. But this is pretty cool. I don't know how often anybody's going to use the backslant, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that's like a comic book. There's a normal comic book, certain expressions and stuff that have backslant. I can't recall that in any that I've read, but maybe there are. Let's keep moving because I only want to do this for like an hour. Be an Allstar. This is Brandon Nickerson right now. This is $0.00. And I always recommend going and grabbing his free fonts when they come out. I recommend subscribing to his newsletter. You can follow him on social media, obviously, but then you have to deal with the meta algorithms or, whomever's. I feel like I feel like the Office episode where they're saying whomsoever, whatever in the meeting. Then you have to deal with the algorithm and hope that they show you when he puts out a new typeface. Just subscribe to the newsletter, the email newsletter, and then you'll be able to snag all of these for free. I will say these look beautiful as a display font, but even testing it out, the leading isn't great. It looks nice here because these are all caps, but when you have lowercase, you can see he's got the leading really tight on this example right here. I just ran into some problems. Should we pull it up? Let's just pull it up. Oh, look at my thumbnails. That's embarrassing. Let's go ahead and close that. Let's see if I have it installed. Let me get a drink of water. So, I'm pretty sure I have this installed right now. Yeah, Allstar. So this is, I need to change this text frame. Affinity has artistic text and then like normal text. You can convert it after it's already done, but let's just go ahead and fix it right now. This is the problem with the leading. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that looks pretty good right there, but let's try and get some Y's in here. System, I don't know what has like system frog. Well, I mean, I don't hate that. That doesn't look bad. Did I already adjust this maybe? No, that's the automatic. Okay, so I'll eat my words. I don't know. When I was testing it out earlier, I didn't think it looked great, but it's a display font. It's not made for, yeah, it's not made for a bunch of body copy. So, I mean, it's probably fine for anything you're going to use for. Obviously, this is beautiful. Let's go look at his examples though, because they're much better than anything I'm going to show you. But yeah, go to bnix.com today, tomorrow, maybe the next day, because this is free right now, but it's going to be $45 once it's not free. Like I said, even if you missed this one, subscribe to the, yeah, I mean, this looks fine right here. I don't know why I was complaining. Subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss out on any of these. He does a lot of great display typefaces. Most of them are revivals of other things. You know, a lot of them are, and then a lot of them are riffs on other typefaces that he's already made. You know, they're kind of like variations. Let's just scroll through some real quick. So you can see Allstar, that's a new one there. But if you look, you'll see some of these that are that match each other. I'm trying to find one. I know that there are some. Maybe they have different names, but you can see there's a ton of them on here. They're all very reasonably priced, much like SimpleBits. You know, these are display faces that are very reasonably priced. They have solid licenses to them, and a lot of times you can get them for free if you're paying attention. But even if you don't, $18, $25, $20, that's a great price for a great, you know, well-designed display face. Oh, here's what I'm thinking of. There's branchy. There's a bunch of different branch ones. He doesn't have them all. Okay, here's another one, branch cutoff. So sometimes the typefaces, I don't know that I would pay $18 for this one and then later pay $18 for this or $10 for that one. I'd probably just pick the one that fits best, but there are a ton of typefaces on here and he's constantly cranking them out. I don't know how he does it, and I don't know how he does it at such a high quality, but Allstar, I really think is one of his best yet, and he always does a great job displaying these as well. You know, the typeface itself doesn't have these drop shadows. He put those drop shadows into these, so you'd have to do that yourself. But man, for a $45 font, this looks very good. For a free $3.99 font, this looks incredible. So Brandon Nickerson, be an Allstar. It's free right now during the launch window, but if not, you know, it's still worth picking up if you need this aesthetic for a project. I'm not sure if this is NaN or NaN, but they put out a ton of really cool typefaces as well. Much more, typically much deeper typefaces. I think that Allstar typeface, if we pull up this, you can look at the glyphs. These are all the glyphs that exist. Like, you can't scroll further. This is it. So, maybe it has like 100 glyphs total. There's a few different little swashes down there. But what you see is kind of like what you get there. NaN, they're doing some display typefaces too, but you can see these are much deeper, much more developed. They're going to have a lot more glyphs. Let me just get that out of there. When I first saw this, I thought, man, that's interesting. I just can't imagine what I would use this for. I can't imagine. I don't know. I didn't know what someone would use NaN Archy. I guess it's got to be NaN, right? NaN, because otherwise NaN Archy just doesn't, NaN Archy wouldn't make sense. I think that it's NaN Archy. So I saw this and I saw NaN Archy and I was like, okay, that's cool. But I immediately look at this paragraph and I think, look at all of those dark spots on there. It's like a bad typewriter that leaves like the ink blobs in the letters. And it's like exactly what, newspapers used to design the ink traps for, to not have that. And then you look over on the other side and you can see NaN Archy off. So you could actually use this on and off. And then it makes a ton more sense because you could use it on. Let's turn it on. You could use it on for like some really cool, really intriguing sort of like headlines and things like that. And then when it comes to your body copy, when it comes to like your actual text, you just throw on, you turn it off. It's still clearly quite the display face. So maybe this would be like, title, subtitle. I don't know that you're going to want to read a bunch in this, but you can see it is legible. It is readable. You could read this. It's not like, reading it on and off. You could read this. This could be your body copy. I don't know that everyone would love it, but unless you're writing a book or a magazine, I think someone could get through a little blurb like this with NaN Archy off. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, most of this page here is testers. So like you can test out all these different things, but they don't have a lot of, oh, that's funny, Walmart. They don't have a lot of, examples on here that they put together. Maybe they do on their Instagram or something like that. But I like to see like I cannot think of what it's called, like the little bumpers, the little, the examples that they make. This is much more useful if you're really thinking about buying it, but just from the standpoint of me showing it to you on the news, it would be nice if they had some more examples, like BNix did here with these, where you can scroll through and just kind of look at like what the potential is rather than having to imagine what it might be here. But I do love when a Foundry shows you the OpenType features right off the bat. And this is one thing that you're going to get in a higher quality, a higher tier, a more premium typeface like you're going to be getting from NaN versus what you're going to be getting from Brand and Nickerson. And I think they're chasing two entirely different target audiences, so that's not a knock on either one of them. Look at this, you can change the colors. See the rainbow. Oh no. What is that? Okay, let's go to green. This is objectives after all. But you can see single story A, and then I think they've got turn me on, turn me off. So they've got some different variations in the J's and the U's. That's cool. I like the symmetrical U on there. Case sensitive punctuation. That is huge. I don't know if you've ever used a typeface that doesn't have case sensitive punctuation. Every time I used to put my Instagram handle, I used to make fan art and put my little Instagram handle on there. I would have the A and I would have to bump it up because it wasn't case sensitive. And that was even, I think that was Avenir. I'm sure one of the newer versions of Avenir, it's been updated a bunch of times. I'm sure one of the newer versions probably has case sensitive punctuation. But when you don't have it, it's such a pain in the butt. And when you do have it, you don't even notice. I wish I could remember who said it. I read it in one of these design books. Somebody said, if you notice the shape of the spoon after you had breakfast, I'm probably butchering this, I'm paraphrasing. If you notice the shape of the spoon after your breakfast, then it was the wrong shape. And I think that's what a lot of design is. A lot of design doesn't necessarily need to stand out, and that's what case sensitive punctuation is. Like, no one's ever going to be like, holy shit, like case sensitive punctuation. But when it's not there and you notice this like bump down, or if you're a designer and you have to like bump up the, what do you even call that? The line height on just like that one character, you really appreciate when you have case sensitive punctuation and it just looks nicer. So despite the fact that this is a crazy display typeface, it's literally called NaN Archy. They've got all of like the premium bells and whistles, and look how cool this is. That thin weight. Yeah, I just think it's a super well done premium version of something that, I don't want to say this in a bad way, something that like you could imagine something like this being on DaFont and just being like a horrible mess with no no good spacing, just like someone trying to do something wild and crazy, but you've got this wild and crazy anarchic thing that is so well done, and done at like a premium professional level. Let's leave it at that. Let's keep moving on. This one, I am a big fan of DualType. I'm a big fan of dual casual. I think that DualType, let me go ahead and show this first so I can talk well about it. I covered this in one of the other earlier typography news, and I could not possibly have said more nice things about this. I love this. I cannot wait for the day that I have a reason to use this, because I love this typeface so much. But this one, Brazda, I don't know. This is entirely subjective, obviously, which maybe doesn't belong in the news, but I'm not sold on Brazda yet. Maybe I can get there. Maybe it's just these examples that don't necessarily look the best. I'll read the description and then we'll talk about it. Brazda is a typeface inspired by worn stone carvings and lead inlays found in German memorial inscriptions. The technique of incising and filling letters with lead influenced the structure and constraints of the letter forms. The design reflects a balance between sharp cuts and softer contours, combining durability with clarity. Brazda conveys a sense of permanence while remaining legible and grounded in its material origins. Love the concept. I just don't know. I'll say this. It's not for me. I don't know where I would use this, because unless you were really using it on like, I don't know, a headstone asset or something like that, like if you were using this in a video game, you wanted whatever you were designing. I keep coming back to video games, but if you're using this for something that really was supposed to be kind of like older and wore down, I guess maybe you would use that there. But this pro skincare, I don't see someone using this for skincare. Espresso, I don't know, that just looks like, when something looks a little bit messy like that, it makes me think of like spilled coffee. Frankfurt, I don't know, I would want rounded edges on it so it looked more like a hot dog, look more like a sausage. I don't know. I'm interested to see where this one goes. This is on Future Fonts. This is by DualType. If you don't know, Future Fonts always debut as version 0.1. They're always in progress when they debut. You buy it now for 25 bucks. You get all of the future updates. So there's typefaces on here that have been updated a bunch of times. The fonts do increase in price each time, but if you buy it now, basically it's similar to like a Kickstarter or something like that. You're helping fund the future development of the typeface. So it's a really, really cool concept. I'm a big fan of future fonts. This is another one that you should sign up for the newsletter on because they're always updating when new releases come out. But also just by the nature of the website, every week they're releasing, they'll send you an email and it's like, here's 4 different fonts that got updates. And you can see something like this that maybe you're not sold on yet. And then later it gets updated and you're like, oh, okay, I see it. I understand it now. Or maybe you never get there. That's fine too. Not everything is for everybody and not everything is for every project. But if you go to fonts, I'll just give you a quick little peek. And you can see here version 0.1, version 0.3, version 0.3, version 0.2. So a lot of these are display typefaces. What I'm trying to say is there's 14 different pages here. A lot of these are early on in their development, and you can, one, support. I would consider all of these people to be independent type designers, and let me explain that real quick. I almost feel like at this point, anything that's not owned by Adobe or Monotype is an independent type designer. Like these foundries, just because Monotype has gobbled up everything, Adobe is, just this giant behemoth, and that's no hate. I have Adobe fonts. I could pull it up right here. Like I have Adobe fonts that I use. I've talked about it before. It's the only Adobe product I use, but I'm a big fan of Adobe fonts. I'm a big fan of Monotype. I'm a fan of Google fonts. I think that all these things have their place. I really, really, really adore independent foundries, and that's what I spend most of my time looking at. So if you're interested in that too, check out Future Fonts, subscribe to my channel, but check out Future Fonts, and maybe you are more into Brazda than I am. I hope that I'm saying that right. I like the color palette, but that doesn't really mean anything, I'm interested to see where this one goes, but right now it's not for me. DualType though, in general, these are the 6 typefaces that he's got on here. I love Dual Casual. This is one of my favorite typefaces ever. And it's only released in the last few months. But I'm super excited to see where this goes. I should probably just snag it for the $75 now. This is one that is very well developed, even as like a version 0.1. And that's because, I'll quickly say this was like a decade in the making. And this is one of my favorite ones. So I'll never have anything bad to say about anything that DualType makes. But Brazda, it's new. It's not for me, but maybe it is for you. Didactica. This is a super interesting one. And I've got 2 different links here. One is to print Maag, and then one is to the actual foundry, which is Typesenses. Typesenses is where you would go to buy this. And I think that they do a pretty good job showcasing the typeface, but it's very similar to what we saw with NaN, where most of it is testers, which is great. But I think Print Magazine does a very good job showcasing and kind of talking about what this font is capable of. They go into a lot more detail. It's an interview. But I think that these images here do a really good job of showcasing the typeface, and some of this is on the website too. Like if you scroll way down, I think they're at the bottom here. Yeah, so some of this is on the Typesenses website. But I think if you really want to get a feel for this, go check out the interview and then go to Typesenses and buy it if you're into it. What this is, though, as I ramble on, let me go ahead and read it. Didactica, yeah, I'm saying it right. Didactica is a handwriting font family inspired by the lessons of Tom Gordy. The idea was to create something familiar to kids and easy to read. It also features various styles for educational purposes, such as ductus, arrows, and guidelines, and can be used as a handwriting instruction tool for children in their early years of schooling. Didactica is a friendly script perfect for books, toys, magazines, packaging, and educational materials. Let me take a sip of water real quick. Whoever left a like on my video, thank you. This is my first live stream. I know that it's not great, but I'm excited. Hopefully that's coming through. But you can see on here, they've got a couple different colored ones. So like these would be colored fonts, I guess. But what I think is really cool is the ones right here that have the numbers and stuff on them. Let's make all of these really, really big. That'll be best, I think. So they've got the arrows right on there. And I talked about this when I went through my very first video. It was about thinking with type, which coincidentally, I have like a full flip through review of that coming. So if you liked the first like 10-minute video or whatever it was, be prepared for a very, very in-depth flip through review of that book. But there was a typeface on there. It was the stacking typeface. I can't remember what it's called now. But I mentioned that I love like a typeface story, but I also love a typeface that has been designed for a very specific purpose. So like my favorite font of all time is OCR, and there are different versions of it, OCR A, OCR V, and now I think there's an OCR X. But basically, it's that typeface that was created to be read by machines. You know, you see it on the bottom of like your checks. Well, who has checks anymore? Let's pull it up. OCR. I know, we're bouncing all over the place. OCR A. This is not made for... Okay, so this is my favorite. You'll recognize this, right? It's the font that's on the bottom of your checks. It's made to be read by machines. This is super early on, so that you could like print it on the bottom of a book or something. If you look at an ISBN, a lot of times they have these. They use OCR, so that the machines could read the numbers and not have to have a person input that. I love when a typeface has been designed with a very specific purpose, because I think that it informs the design so much more, and you can really understand why it exists. You can understand, I don't know, the purpose. I think that just as humans, we like things to have purpose the same way we like to have purpose, and Didactica does that incredibly well. You can see it's teaching children the right way to write their letters, right? And then there's different versions of it, and you've got the red, what are they calling these? Ductus? They've got the red ductus, so like the numbered lines with the little arrows on it. They've got the guidelines right here. Let's make this a little bigger. Remember when you were in school and you'd write on the lines, the X height would be dotted line? Yeah, I love this. I don't know, part of me is like, oh, are they getting me with the nostalgia? Are they getting me with the nostalgia and I'm just remembering like what it was like to be a kid and stuff? But no, I don't think so. I think that it's just a well-designed, very, very friendly typeface that was created with a very specific purpose in mind. Mouths. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. My very first comment. Yeah, so I love that this was created with a very specific purpose in mind. And I don't know, I think it's worth checking out. I don't know that everyone's going to have a use case for this, but I think it's worth checking out. And Typesenses is definitely some, a foundry that I'm going to be paying attention to after this. I was not familiar with them prior to this. But I think this is really cool. And you can also see here, these actually have multiple colors of the blue. So you can see, like, I'm assuming, let's go down real quick. I'm assuming, okay, so the dark blue is supposed to be the first letter. I don't know that that's as obvious as the numbers. I think the numbers are a little bit better, but regardless, super cool font. Didactica just came out recently. This might be one that came out, in May or something like that, but typography moves slow. I'm going to pretend that this is the new release and we can all just enjoy it for what it is. Rules Serif by BlazeType. I'm a fan of BlazeType. I did cover them once. What was let's see what the font was that we covered. It was on like the very first, when I made that, like the video that was like 8 new fonts or 9 new fonts or whatever it was. Dean Gothic. We did Dean Gothic and Dean Slab. So I've covered BlazeType before. Another one that's worth subscribing to the newsletter. I think that they make really cool fonts. And they make these giant type families, just huge. And this is where, variable typefaces, you you can see the appeal of a variable typeface immediately, because who wants to have, how many different weights and styles and stuff are there? There's 90 different styles. You don't want to load all of those into a document or a website or something. Variable fonts, obviously very much the future with stuff like this. But I'm a big fan of this one. This one's a little more simple, but this just reminds me of this reminds me a lot of the typefaces that were used on like the old Mafia movies and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm watching Mobland right now. I could see this being used for like Mobland, but you could imagine this, it's got that vibe of like Goodfellas, Godfather, even Scarface-ish. I don't know that that necessarily falls into the same vein, but all those types of movies that were just kind of like had that edge to them, especially the compressed version. Sorry, I know this scrolling very quickly is not great on screen. I want to get back up to the top. I don't know, there's something very strong about this, but also something very unique. Let's read their description of it. It might be a little bit of marketese, but it looks like this is actually reworked, and it looks like this actually isn't new. They got me with their emails. Let's go ahead and cover it, but they got me. Rules Serif is a serif interpretation of the Rules font family. It channels a refined editorial spirit while maintaining the structural rigor and versatility of its grotesque roots. Reworked in 2024, Rule Serifs introduced a sharp, elegant texture. So I'm confused because it says released in 2025. Maybe they were working on this before and then they've just like fully released it now. Maybe they didn't get me. I don't know. But what I was going to say is BlazeType sometimes, I think like last month they sent out an email being like brand new font, and it was Dean Gothic, and I knew because we had made that video that it wasn't actually new. So they might have got me with this one. But regardless, I think this looks great. You can get the trials. I'm not sure what you have to do. Yeah, you just pick the one you want, put in your name and email. No money or anything, but you can see it's a limited character set. If I can zoom in enough here, you're just going to get like the basic character set. So you're not going to be able to use it anything. Not going to be able to use it for anything. You're just going to be able to kind of look at it and see if it works for you. Another foundry we've looked at before, MaxiType. This actually isn't on their website. If you go to MaxiType, teletext we covered. Love teletext. That was another one. That wasn't entirely created for a specific purpose. How should I say this? The original teletext by Adrian Frutiger was created for something very specific, but this was, created to be kind of that aesthetic. So we covered that before. Getting off track. MaxiType, they put out this early access to systems, and you can download it. I'm trying to think of whether or not I can put this in the in the description. Let me just put it in chat right now. We'll put it in chat. If anybody wants to go look at this, they can. So this came in their newsletter. I'm sure that it's fine to put this out there, but they've got a full trial for it. And I just think that it's cool to be able to test out something before it's like fully released. There's not much about it on here, but you can see it looks a lot like Universe, a lot like, you know, a lot of those early Swiss typefaces. Let's see what it says. You're getting, oh, it's Mueller-Brockmann. Look at that. It says, you're getting an exclusive first look at System, MaxiType's next release. So this is coming out soon. Based on Atelier, Mueller-Brockmann plus Coes, I just spit on my microphone, Helvetica semi-bold corrected for the Swiss Federal Railways, SBB, CFF, FSS, I don't know what that means. System is designed by Eurostan and is now available in full trial. So let's see if we can pull it up. No, it just straight up downloads it. I already have it downloaded, so I'm going to cancel that. But yeah, go check this out. You can check out the full website or check out the full typeface. But it looks very nice. You can immediately see what it is. You know, it is like that Helvetica Universe, you know, just that very iconic Swiss sans serif. But MaxiType always does incredible work, so I have no doubt that this is going to be very cool when it's fully released. But right now you can check out the full trial. Yeah, I would click that link in the chat. I don't know if I'll put it in the description or not. So if you're here, you can get it. Maybe you can see it in the chat replay too. But I'm excited to see where this goes in general, because I am a fan of MaxiType. Another one definitely worth paying attention to. Fontwerk. I think, let's see what we got here. I've got two different links here. Oh, one is the background and one is like the actual typeface. It says, an homage, not a revival. The thing that I liked about this was the ones that were like, they've got the typeface here that says too black. And it's because it's so heavy that, you know, it's beyond like the black typeface, it's beyond like the ultra, beyond the bold. Like it's so heavy that it overlaps onto itself. And I just think it's fun that somebody's breaking the rules in this way. And I don't know. I mean, this just, let's go back to like a normal weight so we can see like what we feel. Like this looks like a super solid typeface in general. But I think the fact that it has that super black weight, the one that they're calling too black weight to it that overlaps, and it almost looks like, I don't know, like you stamped it with a sponge or something and it just bled out so much. Let's go look at the story behind it. And we'll see if this is something that's interesting to you. It says, let's skip past the little bit of a story. I'm going to get to, do they have it on here? I read through this a couple days ago. Okay, here it says, the too black style is a treasure trove for anarchists and avant-gardists. Tausend covers all official EU languages as well as the official languages, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe I should have wrote up some notes about this before I went live, but I think this is one worth checking out. Go check out the story part of it, because I do think that if you're interested in a typeface like this, a lot of times you see a font like this and you're just like, why grab this when I could grab Helvetica? Why grab this when I could grab, I don't know, even Arial or Gotham or any of these sans serif typefaces that have huge families and kind of look the same? I like to go and read the story and see if it resonates with me. I don't know, you're just going to feel better about a typeface that resonates with you. The two typefaces that I use are Silvertype and Bayo Sans, and I love the stories behind them. And even though there are moments when either one of them is not super practical to use, I'm not going to give up on them because I love the story. I have a connection to them. So I love when a foundry puts out like a big, I don't know, like over explains why they made the font they made, over explains everything about it. And even if you don't read all of it, you can see right here, this is a solid typeface, you know. I'm not sure what it's priced at. That might be a determining factor. Let's see. But it looks like you can get trials. Yeah, it's a pricey typeface, 770 euros. But it looks like they say pay once, use forever. It's that simple. They probably have a decent. I don't like when. I don't want to say things bad. I'm just going to report it how it is. I understand type designers need to make money. Obviously, we all want new typefaces, and maybe some of you are designers, type designers, or aspiring type designers. I don't love this whenever there's like a breakdown of like, I need to choose desktop, web, social media, app, audio, visual, logo, and enterprise. Like, I need to pay a different license for every single one of these. I get it. You want to make more money, but the font is made. You made the typeface. I think that I just don't know that I agree that a type designer needs to take a percentage of a bigger company. How am I trying to say this? Basically, they're looking at a whale and they're saying, "Hey, your company's worth $1 billion, so you can pay me $10,000 for this typeface." Not that this is this exact typeface. Not that they're saying that right here, but there are times when foundries want an incredible amount of money to be used by a big company, and then a little bit amount of money for a small company. That's great if you're a small company. Me, I'm a one-man show. So that's great for me. I get it. I think it comes back to that choice earlier where there was the 3 different axes, and I said, like, just give me the whole font. Just make one price for it. I'll pay the whole price. That's kind of what that's what I want from a font license. I'm not going to do all this. It doesn't matter how much I love this typeface. I'm not going to sit and choose all these different things. I do own, my typefaces. This is why people use Adobe. This is why people use Google Fonts, because you don't have to worry about the license. This is why people love open font license. You don't have to pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different licenses and then pay for each different one. It's confusing. People don't like it. I do, have my SimpleBits. I pay for the desktop and I pay for the web, but if I see a font like this where they have 7 different choices for a license, I'll go find something similar. There's nothing that I want that bad. Another future fonts, Cognate, Grotest. James Plattner, I think I'm like 90% sure I covered him before. He had this font called EGADS. Yeah, EGADS. I covered this. I know that I posted it on Blue Sky when it came out. I think that we covered it in one of the early episodes of Typography News or the brand new fonts or whatever. It's got 4 different typefaces on here. Oh, looks like this one. So when it's completely finished, they must have this little diamond. Yeah, look, finished. I don't think I've ever seen a finished font on future fonts. But I'm always looking at the new releases. Cognate Grotest. I think this is an interesting one. I like the specimens. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Specimens. I like the specimens that he's put together on here. I don't know. There's just like a very cool vintage vibe to this, right? The color palette's cool. The gray background, kind of that warm gray. Maybe it's just warm on my screen because it's not calibrated correctly. But that gray background, the kind of like muted colors, they're not incredibly vibrant. You can imagine these in the 50s or 60s. It looks really cool. I'm excited to see where it goes. I can see that there are different, let's go ahead and read the description, but I can see there are different weights. And then the heavier ones appear to have like more contrast. Let's read his description for it, James's description, and then I'll talk a little bit more about my subjective feelings. We'll go ahead and read the whole thing. A foray into the well-trodden world of the grotesque sans serif. Yeah, we can see that, right? Cognate speaks a familiar language with its own distinct cadence, succinct, confident, and self-aware. Okay. Although its DNA feels familiar, Cognate am I saying this right? Cognate? Cognate is not a revival of any particular typeface. Instead, is it a summation of a genre, the grotesques that encapsulate the Swiss or international typographic style of the 19th century, such as Accidens, Grotesque, and you guessed it, Helvetica. Rather than taking big swings in the style department, Cognate relies on more nuanced details, smooth branching, a high X height, slightly narrow proportions for economic typesetting, and just enough flavor to taste. Okay, I'm going to stop reading. We get it. We get what it is, right? What I think is interesting is how tight some of these, how would you say this? How much contrast he has snuck into this lower part of the A here. How much contrast he snuck into like the lower part of the G here, where the G is connecting, where one stroke connects to the other. That's what I find interesting about this, because it is that like typical Swiss style, but you can also see there's he sneaks in like a little bit of high contrast in there. I don't know that I particularly like it, but I do find it kind of interesting. So yeah, I don't know if you want something that's similar to like Helvetica, then but is a little bit different. Maybe this is worth checking out. $45, and like I said, you're gonna get updates forever until the typeface is finished. And I'll go ahead and point this out. I pointed it out before, but if you look at the bottom of these future fonts, you can see version notes. And sometimes there's like little journal entries and stuff. I think those are really cool. So this is what's new. This came out June 16th, so about a week ago. This is what they've got right now. And this is what's coming in V2, V3, V4, and these are actually 0.2, 0.4, V5. So there's a clear roadmap here. You know what you're getting. You buy now, you help you help fund the future development, and then you get a much more developed typeface over time. Can you do this if you need like a full-fledged typeface today? No, but if it has everything you need now, you get it now, and then you're going to get much, much more later on. So I think that's pretty cool. Last typeface. How long have we been going? Because I was only going to do this for an hour. I am always so long-winded. I don't even know how to see. Oh, we go hour and 7 minutes. All right, let's wrap this up in just a few more minutes. R-Typography put out Tripsis L. This is another one where I'm just not sure what I think of it yet. Let me read the description. You can probably see right away what this is. It's a serif typeface without the serifs. Tripsis is a hybrid between old style and sans serif, designed specifically for titling with tight letter spacing. It is highly reminiscent of traditional serif typefaces made for books, but without the serifs. There it is. This omission pushes the design toward a more minimalistic appearance and distinctly different visual rhythm. Without serifs, the main stems can sit closer together. That's cool. And as with tightly spaced sans serifs, the tension between forms becomes a prominent feature of the design's energy and visual appeal. I do think there is some kind of like weird appeal to this. It feels like something that would be in like an old book from like the late 80s, early 90s. I don't know, something you'd see in like, if you're a millennial, something you would have seen in like your school library, but like a book that wasn't new. You could see the library stamps from like a decade earlier, maybe even from the 70s. It feels like something old, but it's new. And this isn't the first typeface to use, create a sans serif out of like what would traditionally be a serif type, structure. I think it's kind of an interesting one, and it seems like it's well developed. You can see all the different language support here. You can see the character set. It doesn't look insane, but you got a few hundred characters there. This is enough to do almost everything that you would ever need to do, unless you're dealing with a lot of math, a lot of numbers, things like that. But I don't think you would be using this for that anyway. This is clearly a display typeface. This has everything you're going to need for display type. Looks like, I don't know if all of these work, but they've got all of them listed here. I would be surprised if this has tabular and old style figures. But yeah, I do think that it looks very interesting. And I like the way that they say designed specifically for titling with tight letter spacing, because it immediately lets you know, like, this is what this is designed for. If you need titles, space them tight. Like, you know, like it tells you how this is going to look good. And I do think this line right here looks great. Let's put our own typeface in here. Or I mean, our own lines, our own text in here. This. It looks pretty good. I'm not sure how I feel about the little serifs, the terminals on the top of the T, because it's like, and the bottom of the L, it's like it's got the serifs, but it just doesn't have the serifs. You know what I mean? Like it's got the terminals that would go on the end of the top of the T, that would be on like the end of the L, and then the E there, but it doesn't have it on the other side of it. One thing I will say is that it definitely makes you feel something. I don't know. I think that the normal ones are less awkward than the italics. I feel like the italics like really make you almost feel uneasy, or they make me feel uneasy. And sometimes that's what you're looking for. Sometimes you're looking for something that makes you feel something. But yeah, this Tripsis L black, you know, this looks almost like a traditional modern typeface. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one, but I do think it's interesting. I love when someone goes for, you know, takes a swing, and I love that this is designed with a very specific use case in mind. So the fact that this is made for titling, you know, it's experimental, and not the first to do it, but I think that it's a very solid go at it. I mentioned earlier that variable fonts are a little bit of a pain in the butt. Are these both the same? Okay, one's the origins and one is the manual. I'm not going to be someone using this because I don't use InDesign anymore. I use Affinity Publisher. But you can download TypePad. I'm 99% sure it's free. Let's see. Yeah, I think you could download this for free. Basically, they made a tool to make variable fonts easier. And I'm not going to read through all of this. This is basically why they did it. And then this is the manual. So this is what it's going to look like. I don't believe it has that little thing on the top, but maybe it does. That would be weird to see that in InDesign. But you can see they've got these little icons and stuff. And my initial reaction was like, okay, these need labels, right? Because you can't introduce like an entirely new plugin, just stick these on here and then like, I don't know. But you scroll down a little bit and you can see, I know you can see it somewhere. You can kind of get the gist of what's going on. I don't know what the labels would be. I don't know what they would do instead. But you can see what this is doing. Basically, okay, so we've got the gray one here, check. So it's like big line, little dot, big line, little dot. That is controlling the axis. So they've got the width axis on that one. So then it's going like fat letter, skinny letter, fat letter, skinny letter, or glyph, I guess, because it could be numbers, right? So it's an interesting thing. And I do agree 100% that variable type is a pain in the butt right now. Like, it's cool, but unless you're using something like, what is that app called that I had? I have an alternative to After Effects, but unless you're using something for motion graphics, you know, that's got where you can like really kind of do something cool with variable fonts, lots of times they're not very fun or easy to work with. But this seems like it might be interesting. So if you're using Adobe products, if you're using InDesign, maybe check this out. HAL TypePad. Let's just see, download. Yeah, there it goes. It's free to download. it's just a plugin that works with Adobe InDesign, and it looks like you can do some fun things. I don't know personally what I would ever use this for, but it's cool that someone's doing something with variable fonts. Last thing I'm going to talk about, I'll just mention the Typographics. Oops, dang it. I'll mention Typographics one more time. This event's going on for the next 10 days. If there's anything you want me to report on, I guess, I'll report on as much as I can. But I also have 2 Monotype webinars. These are free. You just have to go sign up for them. I'll report on them so you don't have to go. But these are coming up if you do want to go. These are, this is Avoid Font Fiascos with Better Licensing Literacy. I don't expect to get like a lot of value out of this, if I'm being honest. But I want to see what they have to say. Whenever the biggest player in the industry talks, I feel like as someone reporting typography news, I have to pay attention, just see what they're going to say. So Tuesday, July 15th, this webinar is going to be happening. It's free. You just got to give them your name and email and stuff. And then the other one is Find Your Type, a recipe for branding success. This one's on this one was today, but I signed up for the one for July 17th. So this one, you can, obviously you're not going to watch this right now. It's already happened, but July 17th, you could sign up for this one if you wanted to. So I'm going to do both of them. I'll report on them in the future and I'll let you know what was said. Like I said, I don't expect a ton of value out of these. But it is interesting to see what they say, and you never know. I almost think that you can learn something from anyone, even if that's a lesson that you have to learn sort of on your own internally, because, some people are just dumb, but then at least you can learn something from their mistakes, right? So I'm excited to see what these are, even though I don't necessarily expect a ton of value. But if you're interested, go check them out, monotype.com/resources. If you subscribe to their newsletter, which I think is worth it, they're going to send you like some My Fonts promos and stuff like that. They'll tell you when there's some new releases, sales and things like that, but they'll always alert you for these types of webinars. So maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. I'll check both of them out and I'll let you know. I hope that this was at least, moderately entertaining. Let's see if I can get a full face cam on here again. Hey, we did it. Okay. I'll just talk to you. I hope that this was like, moderately entertaining. It was less of a dumpster fire than I expected. And I probably rambled, even a little bit less than usual. I do think, I know that these will get better with more repetitions. And like I said, I'm planning to do this Tuesday through Friday, unless there's any sort of, big emergency or something. The reason I've been gone for 2 months is because my first child, my daughter, was born 2 months ago. So I took some time off to be with her and her mom. And then a lot of news came and went, and I kept wanting to talk about it, I was trying to put together these videos. And if you don't report on the news right then, it kind of escapes, and there's new news coming through. It's like holding water or sand in your hands. It's this infinite stream that's pouring, but you're always losing grasp of it. And so this is the new format. We'll test it out. Maybe it'll be horrible. Maybe you guys will hate it. Maybe you'll love it. Hopefully some of you will get some value out of it, and hopefully eventually, we'll get a little bit of a conversation going. I know today I was kind of talking to myself. Mouths. Thank you, my one and only commenter. I did get a couple likes, and it looks like we had 8 views during the stream, so that's more than I expected. But hopefully, one day this will be something much bigger and much cooler, because I do know that there's a complete lack of typography content on YouTube, and I'm trying to fill that void. I think that there are 2 main reasons for this. One, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do all the research and report on it and things like that. It's not easy to do the reviews and things. It's just very time consuming. It takes a lot of energy. But I do think this live stream, I think this is going to be the way to report the news. I'll be able to get out more news in less time, and then we'll still do the book reviews. Like I said, I have the SimpleBits review coming up. I have an interview with Excitable, Andy from Excitable coming up. I have the Thinking with Type book review flip through coming up. I think that's going to be the next big video. Don't expect it this week or anything, but I've already read the book. I already have all my notes. Yeah. So that's basically the game plan. Gonna do these in the evenings. Depending on where you are, it might not be the evening, but I don't know what time zone I'm in. I'm in Brazil right now. I'm from Las Vegas though, so I'm always thinking about different time zones. It's about 10:30 at night right now. Hopefully I'm not doing these this late in the future, but in the evenings, I'll be doing these Tuesday through Friday. We'll get the big videos out maybe on Mondays. But yeah, let me know what you want to see. Let me know if this is interesting. If it's not, if you want me to go back to the old ones, I'd probably only be able to do one per week. But this way I can do 4, and we can get more relevant news faster, and we can report on things that happen the same day. And hopefully, we'll have a little bit of conversation. I'm looking over at my other screen. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some conversations going live, because I think that'll be really cool to interact with you guys. And I'm going to stop rambling, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want more typography news. Bye.